This program is not actually brought to you in part by Dracula. Play it if you dare, because it sucks, especially on Sega CD. Hi everyone, and welcome to Adver-tainment's 5th episode special. We're gonna do things a little differently today, and take a look at a comic book in full. Being October, what better comic than Spider-Man vs. Dracula? Certainly not X-Men vs. Dracula. This thing was just depressing. So we're gonna skip that nightmare and sink our fangs into Spider-Man vs. Dracula, the Spider and the Bat. Uh-oh, a flashlight beam. Looks like that jewelry store has an unannounced visitor. At this late hour, whatever that gent is doing in there has got to be a no-no. So I suppose it's time for a friendly neighborhood wall crawler to go into his number. Side windows open, which explains how our trusty trespasser got inside. Of course, that doesn't explain how he bypassed all the building's burglar alarms. But let's take this one thing at a time, as the old saying goes. Okay, that's thing 1. I'm in. And thing 2, our flashlight-wielding sneak thief shouldn't be very far away from... Huh? My spider sense. It's tingling like crazy. There's somebody behind me, and I've got a sneaking suspicion I know who it is. Why doesn't Spider-Man let us in on his sneaking suspicion? This scene barely gets mentioned again and has almost no relevance to the plot. But we'll get to why these pages could be put to better use later. Guess what, Chuckles? You missed me. But don't expect my ever-ready webbing to miss you. 'Cause friend, that only happens once in a very blue Oops! My webbing didn't stick. Neat trick, Charlie, but winning first prize in a hog greasing contest still doesn't put you in the big leagues. Boy, not exactly a blabbermouth, are you? Uh-oh, looks like Tight Lips has decided to make a break for it. But there's no place he can go where Spider-Man can't follow, even if it's straight through the middle of... Huh? That patch of ice must have slipped on it. I'd bet... Ice? In 60-degree weather? Rats! Old silent treatment has vanished, and there's not a chance of me finding him again now. So I may as well just hang it up, and get back to what I was doing before I got involved in this mess. After all, I've got a date with the most beautiful girl in the world, and it wouldn't be polite to keep her waiting. Mrs. Watson, how's Aunt May?
Oh, it's you, Peter. Come in. She's not doing well, your Aunt May. A cold. I think the flu, maybe. But the doctor's in with her now.
It's definitely the flu, Miss Parker, but your resistance to it seems to be...
Doctor, please! My nephew Peter is here.
You'd better believe it, Tiger. Who's Peter referring to as Tiger in this scene? That's the pet name that Mary Jane normally uses on him, so having him use the term on anyone in this scene really makes no sense. How are you feeling, sweet lady? Mrs. Watson tells me you've been out playing pro football again behind my back. And you know how I hate you messing around with that Joe Namath. He's much too old for you.
Oh, Peter, you're such a tease. I'm feeling fine. Just a little cold, but nothing for you to be concerned about, Peter. A delicate boy like you should be concerned about himself. I'll be up and around in a day or so. Don't you worry about me.
Why not, pretty lady? Turnabout is fair play, isn't it? And after all the years you've spent worrying about me, well, I'll be by to see you again soon. Real soon. You just do whatever the doctor tells you. And take care of yourself. Please, take care of yourself.
It's all right, Peter. I'll watch over her.
And, once out of earshot of his ailing aunt... Okay, Doc, give it to me straight. That sweet old lady has got more than any simple case of flu.
No, Peter, it's the flu, alright. But it is a new strain, resistant to any vaccine that we currently possess. It's reaching epidemic proportions, and I'm afraid that in your aunt's frail condition, it might be more than she can overcome.
What are you saying? There must be something that we can do for her. Well, yeah, you could trade your marriage away in a deal with Mephisto, and... No, they'd never do something that stupid.
I truly wish there were. But our only hope, it is a new vaccine being brought into this country by its discoverer. Unfortunately, A.G. Maxfield is terribly eccentric, refuses to fly, and thus is coming to America by boat. And by the time the SS Randall docks here, several days from now, it may be too late to help your Aunt May. I'm sorry, Peter, but there's nothing to be done.
Well, that's where you're wrong, Doc. Something can be done, and I'm just the guy to do it. It is a sick-hearted web-slinger who arcs high over the darkened city streets brief moments later. A man weighed down with the burdens of concern and commitment, and the knowledge he dare not fail in his self-appointed mission. There it is, the Baxter Building, home of the Fantastic Four. But if Johnny Storm isn't home... No, I mustn't think like that. He will be home. He will. And guess what? He is.
Oh, swell. Just what I needed tonight on top of everything else. The thinking man's answer to the terminal headache. And to what do I owe the dubious honor of this visit?
Much as I hate to say it, Torch, I need your help.
Sorry, chum, but if you get a flat on that creepy Spider-Mobile of yours, you can fix it yourself. In other words, buzz off.
Mister, you listen to me, or I'm gonna pound you into the floor.
Hey, cool it, cousin. I didn't realize it was so serious. Clue me in, and I'll see what I can do.
Basically, it's simple. I need transportation, and fast. And once the anxious Spider-Man has explained his needs in full, a thoughtful Human Torch leads him to the FF's rooftop hangar. And right now, I'd rather be reading The Anxious Spider-Man, or one of the other 9,000 Spider-Man titles rather than this one.
There she is. We just finished our last night, and though he's liable to kill me for this, from what you've told me, this is just what you're looking for.
And moments later...
I've preset the automatic pilot to take you through that liner. When you're ready, pressing the red button on the console will bring you right back here.
I'm obliged, Johnny. I mean that. If there's ever anything I can do for you in return...
Yeah. Get out of my life.
Boy, you really have a mad on tonight, don't you? Look, if you want to let off steam, why don't you check out Faversham's on 47th and Park? You might find all the action there you need. I sure did.
Thanks. I may do that.
Okay, this is the hook from the first few pages of the comic. You see that star after the Human Torch is done talking? That's your cue to go by Marvel Team-Up number 23, starring Iceman and the Human Torch. That comic came out in 1974. Spider-Man vs. Dracula, released in 1994, is actually a reprint of Giant-Size Spider-Man number 1. No, it's not Spider-Man that's giant-sized, it's the comic. But we'll get to why these pages could have been put to a much better use later. Then a button is pressed. A spring-action catapult hurls the sleek silver missile skyward, and as it clears the rooftop, its rockets ignite, streaking an impatient Spider-Man away from the cloud-shrouded Isle of Manhattan, out over the vast Atlantic Ocean, towards a most spectacular confrontation. It's nowhere near as good as the confrontation in Peter Parker, the Impatient Spider-Man. What kind of man can this A.J. Maxfield be? Traveling incognito, refusing to let that vaccine out of his hands when the lives of thousands may hang in the balance? Well, I guess I'll find out soon enough. I've reached the liner. In less than 15 minutes. Man, Reed Richards sure knows how to build them. Per instructions, the web-slinger then presses several buttons on the Skycraft's console as... Okay, I'm in position, right over the ship. The magnetic hover jets are activated, and pressing this final button will keep this crazy chariot hidden above the boat in an artificially created cloud screen, while your always smiling web-slinger drops in for a little visit with one A.J. Maxfield, professional screw-loose. Of course, finding Maxfield on a ship this size may be a bit of a problem, compounded by the fact that Spider-Man is not exactly an inconspicuous sort. So I guess tracking Maxfield down becomes a job for Peter Parker. Cut to a sinister bat-winged shape swooping down out of the darkness towards the great ship's deck. A shape that seems to billow even as it lands, exchanging the form of a savage night flyer for the far more acceptable form of a man. Ah, but this is no ordinary man, as you may have already guessed. No, this is a man of nobility, of breeding, of really tall eyebrows. This is Count Dracula, Lord of the Vampires. And his mission this night seems somehow strangely familiar.
Somewhere on this pretentious vessel there hides one A.J. Maxfield, the man I've come to kill. I've never met Maxfield, nor even heard of him before I discovered his accursed vaccine. But since the proper use of such a discovery may one day interfere with my well-laid plans, I must dispose of Maxfield and his serum before he can hope to threaten... Don't! Are you blind? Watch where you walk.
Huh? Oh, excuse me, mister. I guess I was so wrapped up in my thoughts I didn't see where I was going. Sorry.
Very well. But do not let it happen again.
Man, what a grouch that guy is.
Bah, what fools these mortals be.
I'm also gonna come back to this at some point. For now, I'll just tell you that it's one of those things when you're done reading it, you just hang your head in shame. And, as if our plot weren't complicated enough, in a cabin on one of the upper decks we find... Okay, you mugs know the setup. With the costume ball on ship tonight, ain't nobody even gonna notice you prowling around in them outfits. So you shouldn't have trouble tracking down this A.J. Maxfield guy. In a soft, raspy growl, Anthony the Whisperer Cavelli, ex-Maggia Bigshot, addresses his top lieutenant, Seymour Simeon Sims. Okay, you mugs. You heard what the boss man said. Get going. And if you don't come back with the pill pusher, don't bother coming back at all. While several decks above...
The journey from Europe to this wretched ship has been tiresome. I thirst voraciously. but as long as this planet abounds with human cattle, it is a thirst I may easily quench. Excuse me, miss, but I believe you can help me.
Sure, friend, if there's anything I can do.
Naive fool, so trusting, so appetizing. A moment to lure her into the shadows, then I shall drink deep of... Someone behind me.
Oops. Sorry if I spooked you, mister.
Who?
But I'm trying to get a shot of Joyce in a party costume, and you stepped right in my way. Well, if that was the case, then why didn't she mention to Dracula that he was trying to take her picture? She acts like she doesn't even know this was taking place. He's just some weird stalker who comes out of the shadows when somebody gets in the way of his perversions.
I did not intend to...
Hey, you know, your costume isn't half bad either. In fact, it's downright fantastic. Stand right there a sec, and let me get a shot of it.
No, don't.
Camera shy, huh? Don't worry about how you look, pal. These days, the cameras almost take the pictures themselves. Just takes 15 seconds for the snapshot to develop. Then, huh? I don't get it. I know I had that guy in my viewfinder. So why isn't he in the photo? Hey, mister, mind if I... Huh?
He's gone, like a mist in the breeze.
And, moments later, on the topmost deck, that mist becomes once more the Lord Count Dracula, who strides grimly off in search of some new prey, only to find himself suddenly the hunted instead of the hunter.
What? Who dare? Out of my way, fools, and let me pass.
Uh-oh, Chummo. Don't recognize you from the ship's roster, so I figure you might be just the guy we're looking for. And you ain't going nowhere until I find out for sure.
Swine. No man says where Dracula may or may not pass. Away from me, and consider it lucky I allow you to leave.
Okay, wise mouth, that tears it. Ain't nobody what muscles Big Mike Melanie and walks away to brag about it. That's not possible. The slugs are going right through him.
Anything is possible for the Lord of the Undead.
Anything, of course, except, you know, getting yourself written into a decent comic book.
Now, wretch, face me, and prepare to receive the fate you so justly deserve. I gave you a chance to retain your worthless lives, and one chance is all that Dracula allows. Look at me. Look deep into my eyes. For in them, you will surely see the blazing pits of hell.
No, please, don't!
Desperately though they try, the two gaudily garbed gunmen cannot tear their gaze away. For Dracula's eyes are two black, demanding pools, drawing them ever deeper into the shadows. Until, at last, they stand immobile, their self-control shattered, their will washed away on the wind, and, at a whispered command from the Transylvanian nobleman, they march mechanically across the deck, over the railing, and legs still pumping in military cadence, down towards the cold, bleak, ever-waiting sea. There to be lost forever from sight, their death screams still caught in their throats. The waves gently lapping against the steel ship's hull do little to soothe the despair Elvira Kaufman feels tonight. She'd heard many stories of shipboard romances, dreamed for months of having one of her own, but it has been a dream unfulfilled, until tonight. The man is not handsome, not really, but there is a magnetism about him that is positively compelling. Elvira looks into his almost timeless face, sees the desire that is written there.
Come, woman. I have need of you this night. A very great need indeed.
Please, be gentle.
and thus Elvira Kaufman is lost. Closing her limpid eyes, Elvira feels fire course through her, as twin points of agony pierce the soft flesh of her neck. A sound escapes Elvira's throat, and she no longer recognizes it as a scream, but someone else does. Somebody's in trouble, down at the other end of the deck. It appears Maxfield will have to wait. A girl! The bat must have frightened her. Looks like she fainted from... Hey, what's a bat doing this far out at sea? Cripes! This little lady is suffering from more than fainting spells. She's as pale as the grave. And those marks on her neck, they look like... No, that I refuse to believe. Yeah, I mean, I live in a world where mutants, superhumans, gods, demigods, aliens, monsters, magic, and super science all exist, but vampires? Psst, come on. It's not like there's any that actually exist in my own continuity, let alone one that I helped directly create. Psst, vampires, that's crazy talk. I'd better get down to the ship's doctor, and fast. Moments later, below decks.
I still don't know what you're doing here, young man. I know all the passengers on the ship, and I don't know you.
Look, Captain, we can play 20 questions later. Like after somebody has tended to this girl. You know, band-aids, medicine, a doctor maybe?
Don't get insolent with me, young man. The doctor is on the way. But that doesn't affect your situation in the least. You're a stowaway. And you're gonna answer for... Eh? Dr. Maxwell! Thank you for answering my call.
We came as quickly as we could, Captain. Maxfield? Him? Now, which one of you is the patient?
Neither of us. It's the girl on the cot who needs attention. Her breathing is so shallow. We were afraid she might not last till you arrived.
Captain, I suggest you leave the diagnosis to those who know what they're doing? Sorry to drop in like this, but we ain't exactly got time to wait for an invitation. The boss has been looking for you, Maxfield. Been waiting a long time to meet ya. And chum, the boss don't like to be kept waiting. Okay, Gorilla, let go of the doctor. A girl's life depends on it. And your life depends on standing very, very still, punk. Okay, I get the point.
Take your hands off him, you filthy ruffian. Don't you dare handle a man of medicine that way.
Oh, sister, you pull a stunt like that again, and I'm gonna rearrange your pretty face. Come on, you goons, let's move it.
Dirty animals. They've knocked her unconscious. Quickly, son. Lend me a hand. Help me revive her. Didn't you hear me, man? I said I need you. Huh? He's gone.
And that, thankfully, is the end of Chapter 1. I'll see you on Halloween for Chapter 2. Till next time.